We've talked about the impossible part of getting from the query to the full. So now you are that author that has caught you on January 2nd. You're immediately interested. You love the manuscript. Fantastic. So we'll just assume that. How do you evaluate the author? What are you looking for ahead of some sort of contact? And then what are you looking for? I assume there's a phone call involved. How are you deciding, is this person, in addition to being a great writer, eligible to be a great client?
Right. Always looking for clues in the email communication initially. Like you want to make sure that there's no issues, red flags. Sometimes people can, you know, you want to make sure that you're working with a client that's going to be easy to work with. There's no problems. And so sometimes, you can tell, and I don't mean specifically like I found a book, a manuscript, and it's great. Now the person's a problem, but you can tell sometimes people will argue with you. You may say something offhand like, I may suggest that you do this, and they become argumentative. Like people that argue with like strangers via email are probably not someone you want to work with. Or you can tell sometimes writers have been have been submitting their work for a really long time and are bitter and jaded and hate agents, and they take it out on whoever they have, you know what I mean? And that comes through. So you can those kind of people you don't want to work with. So you kind of look for clues for their communication style, how easy they are to work with, just via email. And then, so if I see something I want to offer representation, we'll have a call. Nowadays, it's a Zoom, but sometimes it could be a phone call, and just talk and get a feel. I don't immediately jump into like, let's talk about your manuscript. I'm like, tell me about yourself. Where are you from? What do? You have kids? Have pets? Like, just kind of build a rapport and see if we like each other. Because it's not just, do I like this person? Do they like me? Do you want to work with me? If you're fortunate, you'll have multiple agents to choose from. And so it's about making sure that it's a partnership. So do you want to work with me? Do you think that I can help you? Because are you going to trust me to like help you achieve your goals? So they have to figure that out. I have to figure that out. Do I want to work with this person all on like one call? And then offer representation.
Obviously, you don't want to work with anybody that's a total jerk or where there's a clear personality conflict and you're going to be fighting the whole time. But I'm always curious because if once we get past a certain point, you're going out on submission. I'm trusting that you're doing that while I'm working on my next book. I'm feeling free to reach in and check in with you every so often to let you know what I'm working on, questions about what's going on. But otherwise, to a certain degree, I'm looking for a professional that's going to do the selling of the book that I can't do because you've got the contacts I don't have. How important is it that we become, and I'm great friends, how important is it for an author to evaluate an agent? Hey, is this best friend material versus is this unbelievably awesome salesperson who's going to land the dream contract?
Right. Well, I mean, I think I'm assuming that you're working with an agent that knows their job. So assuming that you're working with someone, you know what I mean? Like my assumption is that you're pitching or you're submitting your work to an agent that has a track record of selling the type of books that you sold and can do the job. So that's all like assuming that's there. Then you want to make sure that the personality meshes and that kind of thing. So that the other part of making sure that you have someone that can sell your work, that's part of the research that you need to do online, which you can go to Publishers Marketplace and see what they have sold. That's like the very first thing I would do. If I was looking for an agent, I would see if they have, one, sold anything, two, have they sold things similar at least in the same genre. I don't necessarily, like if I was looking for an agent, it wouldn't like scare me off that, say for example, I've written a mystery and they've only sold romance, because we meet people, just because I'm not selling something in a particular genre, it doesn't mean that I don't know people in that field. You know what I mean? If I go to a writer's conference, there's all sorts of editors there, or I can take calls with people because I know that I want to move into a certain genre. So that would be, if I didn't see a track record for that genre, it would be a question I would ask them. So do you feel like you have the connections to sell this book? But I think at the end of the day, an agent that is established and that has a good, track record, period, should know how to sell a book. Like I wouldn't, you know what I mean? Like, just like I said, if you have like sold a bunch of books, if you're like a nonfiction agent, and you've never sold fiction, me if I was not in the business out and just have read a bunch of like articles about how to beware of agents, I would probably be like, oh, you've only sold nonfiction. Do you think you can sell my fiction? But as an agent, I would find that kind of offensive, because it's like they're a professional literary agent. If they can sell at nonfiction, they can sell fiction. It's just a matter of like contacting the correct agents. You know what I mean? Sorry, contacting the proper editors. Like an editor that is looking for a certain type of genre is not going to say no to an agent because they've never sold in that field before. You know what I mean? Or because they don't know them, they've never met them before, they're still going to read their work. So, my first goal would be to look for an agent, a successful agent, period. But if you have to choose, if you're fortunate enough to have 2 or 3 to choose from, sure, you may want the one that has had, say you're writing romance and you want an agent that has sold 10 books in romance. Of course, that person is they may have an edge over an agent who has only sold nonfiction. But if you don't have a choice and you have a nonfiction agent that is, well established and has a great, maybe you talk to their clients and like everything is all good, they can probably sell your work too. It just depends. Like if they're asking, agents don't usually ask for things that they're not interested in, that they can't properly edit, that they can't sell. And I'm not talking about the ones that are scammers or that are like, there's bad apples out there, and I try not to read too much like absolute beware, that kind of stuff, but I know that there's like bad agents out there and people that are like, yeah, I can do this, and they can't, like, but there's so many good agents out there. Like just do your homework and try to find the good agents that are out there.
Just listen to this podcast, esteemed audience. If they're here, they're a great agent. That's how it works.
Resources now, like there's, you know what I mean? Like there's no reason why you can't find good agents.